All right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Last Call podcast. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, my co-host Geoff Lambert from GoingFor2.com. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing? Sorry I couldn't make it last week, but I'm back this week. It's a pretty good week this week.
Yeah, it's all right, man. Things happen. Um, I won't get into it, but as you know, I'm a little ticked off my dynasty league. Partially my fault. We're not running the league correctly. Apparently, we got to do the most possible points for
That's the
for
only
the
way to do it.
non-playoff teams, but we got some tanking and guys obviously admitting into it this last week, and it affected me, and I'm gonna bounce backwards in the draft by a couple slots because of it, and I desperately need the draft pick, so not happy. Anyway, enough about me, man. Let's jump into this week 14 reaction.
Yeah, let's do it. So early games were kind of I mean, I don't know about you, but I watched all the early games, and they weren't any good ones, but they kind of
No,
made up
not
for it in
really.
the late games. Those
They
couple of late games.
totally did. Yep.
But one of the good ones that we did have,
Mhm.
Ravens and Browns here. The Browns get this one 24-22. They kind of hold on to this one. They were pretty much dominating most of the game, and then Ravens made a late push there. Huntley, who was the quarterback for most of the game after Lamar Jackson went out, 27 for 38, 270 and a touch. He also had 2 fumbles lost, but ran for 45 yards on 6 carries. Devonta Freeman, 13 for 64. Andrews had a monster game, 11 for 115 and a touch. And Rashad Bateman, 7 for 103. On the Brown side of things, we had Mayfield, 22 for 32, 190 and 2 touches and a pick. Chubb had a very pedestrian day with 17 for 59. Peoples-Jones had a decent game, 5 for 90. And both Austin Hooper and Landry both had touchdowns. Really, the story here is Lamar Jackson got hurt. He went out, I think, pretty early in the game.
He did.
Ankle injury, I believe, is what they were saying on a sack. I haven't heard anything since then. I don't know if there's anything that's been reported out
I
yet.
haven't been able to find anything either, but yeah, definitely not good news. Strangely enough, like the offense hasn't really looked all that smooth, even with him back there for the last couple of weeks. You obviously want Lamar there. He's a huge difference maker. So this will hurt everybody. But I mean, hey, Huntley able to get at least fantasy wise, get the guys the ball. Bateman blew up. Obviously, Andrews had a good game. They were down really early in a lot. So, he was just having to fling the ball around. As you saw, like Huntley was the reason why they were able to come back and the reason why they lost the game. 2 fumbles, one pretty costly. Just that's what's going to cost them if they have to run with Huntley more often than not. So, you're probably going to downgrade all the Ravens players if Huntley is in there, but I don't think it's as drastic as we would see with other teams moving to their backups.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's okay. I think you could still start Andrews if you were already starting him. I don't think you're going to be benching him. Bateman, Marquise Brown might struggle a little bit, but I do think that they're still in that wide receiver 3 or receiver 4 category. I think Huntley's good enough to not necessarily kill their value, but I think you definitely have to downgrade him a little bit. On the other side of things, the Browns offense continues to struggle. Kareem Hunt got hurt in this one. We thought, okay, Kareem Hunt's hurt. Chubb should have a big game, but he had a hard time getting the ball. Only 59 yards there. Didn't really do too much against his Ravens defense.
Yeah, it is the Ravens though. The Ravens have a pretty solid D, at least run defense wise. So there could be better days ahead if Hunt's not there. But we've also seen Dearness Johnson come in and fill that Hunt role pretty nicely. Chubb just doesn't feel like the guy that is gonna win you a league this year. Like I don't know, something off with him right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think this offense in general is something seems to be off. Mayfield continues to battle with injuries. He went out for a little while in this game as well. And I think that kind of hurts the offense as well. I know, say what you will about Mayfield, he does get the ball down the field. He can make some plays, and when he's hurt, he can't do those kind of things. And they just sell out to stop the run. So, agreed there. Let's move to the next game here. Titans, Jags. Titans take this one 20-0. The Jags are looking pretty awful there. Trevor Lawrence, 24 for 40, had no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. James Robinson, 6 carries for 4 yards. I had to double check to make sure you didn't miss like the yardage on that. It definitely was
Nope.
4 yards.
That's
I was like,
exactly
wow.
why I wrote it down.
Jones 6 for 70 on the other side. Tannehill 20 for 31, 191. No touchdowns. 4 for 29 in the touchdown running though. Foreman 13 for 47 in a touchdown. Not a whole lot of offense on either side of the ball really to talk about here, but looking at the coach here, I mean, with Jacksonville and Urban Myers and all the news that came out of there this week and this game, the way it was played, how long before he's no longer the coach here, you think?
Anybody who's a football fan hopes that he's gone tomorrow morning. Jacksonville is a crap show of a franchise, though. So who knows what they actually do. They could ride him out and see what happens. I don't think there's really any reason to. If you just search Urban Meyer's name, the first headlines that pop up here are, yes, Urban Meyer's tenure with the Jaguars needs to come to an end. Urban Meyer is bad. Complaints about, Like, it's bad.
It's brutal.
When
you're fighting, when you're fighting with your veteran receiver and he's leaving the room, basically the locker room, and
he's the guy you brought in to like help mold these younger guys and let them learn a few things. Not that Marvin Jones is a superstar by any means, but he's a good veteran receiver that was supposed to help out, guys like Laviska Shenault and then some, and just be a leader on this team. It's not happening. And, we're not the big thing that I see, and look, the Jags, they've won a few games. Fine. That's better than last year. But that means nothing when you're not seeing any positive regression on, for this team. Like, if anything, Lawrence was better early on in the season when he was throwing more interceptions than he is now, where he's just like afraid to do anything. Yeah, today was horrible. He threw 4 picks, but before that, he'd only thrown like 2 picks since week 8.
Yeah.
So it was like he was just, but he'd only thrown 2 touchdowns. So like he was just doing nothing.
Yep.
So
you hear the story too about Urban Meyer basically saying that he was a winner and all his assistant coaches were all losers, and basically putting it all on them, that it's their fault that they're not winning games. It's just, it's not what you do.
I absolutely hated this hire for the Jaguars, and more so because there's 2 reasons. One, I don't like Urban Meyer. I never really have. I haven't liked him at any of the stops in college football. I think there's always something going on behind the scenes with him that never really gets revealed. But then just the fact that Trevor Lawrence was going to that team and you're like, oh no, it felt bad, really bad. I hope they remedy the situation and Trevor Lawrence can get a real coach in there and learn, because he is, I still think, a very special talent.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think it will happen this year. I mean, I just don't know how they're going to end up how they're going to convince the fan base to stick with Urban Meyer after the way that this season has gone and the way that they're kind of a dysfunction off the field and on the field as well.
Agreed.
All right, let's move to another game here, another blowout. The Chiefs blow out the Raiders 48-9. Carr goes for 33 for 45, 263, a pick and a touchdown, lost a fumble as well. Jacobs didn't do much if you had him, 9 for 24, 5 for 46 through the air. So PPR, he wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
Renfro continues to ball out, though, 13 for 117 and a touch. He's been a pleasant surprise for the Raiders and for fantasy in general. Mahomes didn't have a huge day, but it was good enough. 20 for 24, 258 and 2 touchdowns. CEH had 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had a pedestrian day, 4 for 76, but didn't need to do much. Really, the story here is Kansas City's defense and how much they have turned around and become really dominant. And then on the flip side of that, for fantasy purposes, are we worried about that offense for the Kansas City Chiefs? Because they still haven't really put up those mind-boggling numbers that we'd like to see from them.
Honestly, I still am, man. I don't really. I mean, this was a lot on the defense. The Raiders, handed them the game in the first quarter and a half.
Yeah.
And then Kansas City's defense just kind of shut it down the rest of the way. Now, Kansas City didn't have to do a whole lot the rest of the way. They kind of took their foot off the pedal. But, we're not seeing Hill do anything. We're not seeing Kelsey do anything. I think I saw Kelsey had a 3 for whatever, and I forgot to leave the stats up here. 3 for whatever it was the second week in a row. I mean, that's it's not getting it done, guys. And even Mahomes, there was a stat that I shared on the Fantasy Six Pack Hour on Thursday where Mahomes was a very favorable or a favorite in DFS this week because of what he did. Because it's the Raiders, their defense is not good, but because of what he did with them a few weeks ago. However, if you look at Mahomes' stretch of games for the last 6-7 weeks, he's been like QB 17. That includes the 39.5 point performance he had against the Raiders in that stretch of time. You get rid of that or just make that a normal good week, say 26 to 28 to 30 points, right? He's probably QB 20 something.
Yep.
It's not good. And even today, he didn't have to do it. He looked good when he was throwing the ball, but he didn't have to do anything. And so, again, I mean, it's a solid day for him, but it's not mind-boggling. It's not like Mahomes won you your week, probably.
Yeah, when you see that
your week, I guess, for once, right?
Yeah, if you see that 48-9, you just automatically think, oh, Mahomes must have had 4 touchdown passes, and it just wasn't the case today.
And let's be real here, they still have a fairly favorable schedule going forward. I mean, the Chargers defense hasn't been lights out. The Steelers can get passed on. Then they get the Bengals, who knows which Bengals team shows up from week to week, right? And thankfully they don't have to play. We don't play week 18 because that's the Broncos, and I think that could be that could be a fairly tough one. But I mean, I don't
definitely be worried about them if I own any of those players.
I'm still gonna probably be putting Mahomes QB 6 at best most weeks, I think, going forward. I just don't see him, going ahead of guys like Brady and Josh Allen and Rodgers for the most part.
Taysom Hill,
even we got that question a lot. So I do a Sunday morning show, starts the questions. We got the Mahomes and Taysom Hill, and I said Hill, and it actually was right by. It was close, but it was right.
Yep, so, that rushing upside definitely is there for sure. Speaking of Hill, let's move to that game. Saints take this one against the Jets 30-9. We just mentioned Hill had a really good game here. Not through the air, obviously, 15 for 21, 175, but he had 11 for 73 and 2 touches on the ground. Kamara also had a good game here, 27 for 120 and a touchdown in his return to the lineup. The Jets, nothing much really to talk about there. I mean, people were talking about Jamison Crowder maybe, but he didn't do anything. Of course, the hype was Elijah Moore. He ended up being, put on IR, basically ending his fantasy season. So not much to talk about on that side of things. But the real question here is, can the Saints sustain this sort of two-man offense where it's just Hill and Kamara, basically?
I mean, it's like a basketball team, man. It's like a two-man show. It's weird. But, I mean, they're not going to get the Jets every week, and I'll be honest, I don't know their schedule either. But it's strangely enough, yes. So they get the Bucks, they get the Dolphins, they get the Panthers. Doable.
Bucks will be a little tougher.
But you know what? Yeah, for the run, it will be. But, I mean, Hill has shown he can at least drop back and pass the ball, at least screen passes, slants, stuff like that. Yeah. He'll chuck it down the field here and there. I mean, he's just such a weapon. So his floor is incredible. And obviously Kamara, if he's actually healthy out there, he's going to get the job done. Yeah,
and the thing with Hill, and I talked about this a little bit on my show on Wednesday, is Hill's one of those quarterbacks that fantasy and real life don't always match up. Like last week, he had 4 interceptions, which typically is a really, really bad week for a quarterback. But he still had 27 fantasy points because he had rushing, insane. And so it's insane that how his floor is so high because of his rushing ability. All right, let's move to the Cowboys and the Washington football team. This game was kind of a blowout for a while. The football team kind of made it interesting towards the end there with some turnovers and a pick six. So Dak goes 22 for 39, 211, a touchdown and 2 picks. Not a great day for Dak. Zeke, who we thought would be good without Tony Pollard there, didn't do really good either, 12 for 45. Lamb, a decent PPR day, 7 for 61. Cooper, 5 for 51 and a touchdown. Other side of things, Heineke had a really bad day, 11 for 25, a touch and a pick, also lost a fumble, and then got hurt. Gibson, who I know was a very popular DFS play, I think maybe like the highest owned player on the entire slate today, 10 for 36. And Cam Sims out of nowhere with a 3 for 69 and a touchdown, had that really nice touchdown in the back of the end zone that really kind of made his day. But no one started Cam Sims, I'm sure, unless you're like in some really, really deep league. So really, we thought there'd be more offense in this game. Not a whole lot of offense on either side of the ball. It's mostly defenses. And then Terry McLaurin left with an injury as well. I believe it was a concussion, but
he went for a pretty deep pass and just came out hard, really hard. So he wasn't even like a hit. He just
fell on his head.
Yeah, it was just a weird game. And it's funny, like I kind of after I set my lineup and I was talking with one of the writers for Fantasy Six Pack, and we both were like, yeah, we love Antonio Gibson, so we both like kept plugging in Antonio Gibson in all our lineups. Yep. And then he did horrible, and I went, you know what? That's my bad. So in my rankings, if you want to know who never to use in DFS or at all, really, go look at my rankings in the featured image every single week. Outside of I think like
Madden
1
curse.
week. Outside of like 1 week, where I think Cooper Kupp basically is just invincible, everybody was horrible.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Gibson was that guy this week.
Wow.
I mean, last week was Mike Evans. Nothing.
Wow.
2 weeks ago was Nick Chubb. Nothing. 3 weeks ago was like Harris. Nothing. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Now that it's week 14, I was like, like halfway through the season, I was like, that's kind of funny. Now I'm like, that's pretty weird. So
yeah, Madden curse. You're the Madden curse. Right now. That's crazy. All right, let's move to the Falcons and Panthers. And really, this was actually not a bad game. I mean, it was a little bit ugly, but I think it was a little competitive. Had some good fancy points put up in this one. Ryan, 90 for 28, 190 and a touchdown. Patterson continues to be a beast in fantasy, 16 for 58 and a touchdown. Also had a touchdown through the air. Gage, 4 for 64. The other side of things, we had Cam. He did have a rushing touchdown, but he really didn't look good. Ended up getting benched. Actually, he got benched a couple times in this game. He got benched and then Walker came in and he wasn't good. And they put Cam back in. It was really weird. DJ Moore had a good game. Anderson showed up today after, being terrible all season. No one probably played him this week, but 7 for 84 and a touchdown. Hubbard had a touchdown as well. Thoughts on Cam Newton getting benched yet again? I mean, I think he's been benched at least twice this season, if not 3 times.
I mean, I still don't think they can start PJ Walker. I think they brought in Cam. Cam's going to have to figure this out. Defenses have obviously figured out they've just got to, make Cam throw the ball, and he can't. Yeah. He fumbles, he does stupid things, he throws picks, and then he's basically a one-read guy, and he wants to tuck and run. If he doesn't get that read, he's really regressed as a passer, in my opinion. And it's a shame because he's got good weapons. DJ Moore's a guy who I think we all really, really like, and I think still will next year, depending on who's the quarterback for him. Anderson has proved he can still ball out. It took him a little while this year, but he's starting to put some games together. It's tough, man. And of course they're dealing with a new offensive coordinator there too, because they fired Joe Brady in the bye week, so that never helps things. But I don't really know if there's really much to read into it. This offense is not one I really want to target anywhere.
I agreed. There's nobody there that I want to play. If I have DJ Moore, I'm playing him because I have to. But other than that, I don't think there's anybody there that I would want. All right, let's go to the Seahawks and Texans. Seahawks take this game pretty easily, 33-13. Wilson has a quiet yet efficient day at 7-15 for 28 and 2 touchdowns. Lockett has a huge game, 5 for 142 and a touchdown, a typical Lockett kind of game where he hasn't done much in weeks, and all of a sudden he blows up for a huge game. Rashad Penny makes an appearance here, 16 for 137 and 2 touchdowns, which was really surprising. On the other side, Mills has a pretty decent game, actually. I mean, 33 for 49, 331 and a touchdown. Burkhead, 11 for 40, 6 for 51 through the air. Cooks has a nice game, 8 for 101. I just think that there's just not enough weapons there for Mills to really do much with. But he did, for what he had, he did a pretty decent game.
I agree.
So yeah, the real question here is, we talk about Lockett's game, the DK Metcalf though. What's going on there? I mean, his guys have been good in forever.
He looks disinterested at times, man. He's not running clean. I was kind of really like, every time red zone switched to them, I was looking at him and like you could tell he's frustrated. Like Wilson's not putting it where he used to, right? He's not all there this year. He's definitely hurt. That finger's still bothering him. But DK's letting it get to him. And you can tell, like, every time the ball misses, he just puts his head down, he gets pissed or whatever. He had one in the end zone he probably should have had, and he let it drop. It was a tough catch, but that's a ball DK should get. And so that's unfortunate. And of course he was mad at himself for that one. But there's other times where I'm watching him and he runs a little the little comeback route, near the sideline, and he just kind of just like eases up on it or something. It's just weird. Like it just doesn't look like he's going full out. And
yeah, it's crazy because even like today, I get a lot of those early questions, sit-start questions, and
right.
I had one, today, and it was like Brandon Ayuk or DK Metcalf, and usually you're like DK Metcalf off the top of your head. But
you had to think about that one.
Think about that one for a minute. I still said DK Metcalf, which ended up being the wrong choice, but I couldn't. I was like, give him one more shot. It's the Texans,
right.
Give him one more shot. But
and the offense seems like it's turning things around, and it is. Like Wilson, I mean, not efficient, 17 for 28, but 2 touchdowns. The ball is moving with this team. They had the run game going today, which was incredible for this offense. Obviously, Rashad Penny was insanely good, which nobody expected.
No.
Funny story, I had to pick him up Saturday night while I was in the tile store because I found out that both Darrell Henderson and Coleman got hurt for my one team. My second pickup was a guy who we're going to talk about in the next game, and we'll talk about him. Very interesting. What in the hell happened there? And it was just one of those like I'm looking at the waiver going like I don't have any running backs on my bench. I'll just go find Penny and this dude and plugged it in, and I got 26 points out of Rashad Penny. I was like, okay, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes.
You think he's the guy going forward after this game? You think this solidified him as the guy?
I do, man. Collins has been awful. DJ Dallas is not the guy. He never has been. I don't think he will be. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see why they would turn to somebody else at this point. I mean, Penny has shown it in the past, right?
Just can't stay healthy.
The end of last season, I think he had a few games and then got hurt. Yeah, that's the problem is his health. So, I think, they've got to run with him because this Seahawks team is phenomenally better when they have a run game that they can rely on. When they don't, Russell Wilson runs around back there because that offensive line still isn't very good. So he panics and just kind of runs around, and he's not young anymore, so he's not running away from people anymore like he used to. So and making those plays.
That is true. On the other side of the ball there, Brandon Cooks, 8 catches, 101, pretty good with Mills. Mills being the start of the rest of the week. Are you comfortable playing with Cooks in your lineups?
Absolutely, man. We saw in the earlier season games when Mills was there that Cooks just saw a massive target share, and not even just target share, just a massive amount of targets in general. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, with a huge lack of running game there in Houston, and they're going to get behind early in just about every game, Cooks is going to get a lot. And we saw it, 8 for 101.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, the Seahawks defense isn't good, but
that's still
you will take that every day.
Yep.
So, and Green Bay is starting to run away with this game. I think Aaron Jones has scored his second touchdown.
Yep.
From Aaron Rodgers. So
I think touchdown.
I think we are up with the extra point, probably 35-27 is what I'm thinking it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. So, all right, late afternoon game. Start here with the Lions and the Broncos. The Lions lose 38-10. This was a blowout. Goff went 24 for 39, 215, a touchdown and an interception. Craig Reynolds.
Who? Did not see this one coming.
11 for 83. Yeah. Amon-Ra, and that's on the ground, by the way, if you don't know who Craig Reynolds is, because I don't. And then Amon-Ra and St. Brown, 8 for 73. Good showing there. Josh Reynolds, 3 for 52. The Broncos, Bridgewater, 18 for 25, 179, 2 touchdowns. The run game was incredible today. Melvin Gordon came back from injury, 24 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. Javonte Williams took a back seat to him just slightly, 15 for 73, a touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Still not much else there for the receiving game. Jerry Jeudy only 5 for 47, Fant 4 for 51. Huge disappointments there. But yeah, so the other guy that I was talking about was Jamar Jefferson. I mean, I'm looking at last week and going like, oh yeah, he saw all the carries once everybody went out, and absolutely he should be the guy. Everybody liked Iguapa, whatever his name is, right? And but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the guy because we saw that happen with New York with Coleman and Ty Johnson, and everybody liked Ty Johnson because of the passing game upside. But you know what? I wanted the guy who's going to get the ball.
Yep.
So I went with Jamar Jefferson. What did they do? They gave it to Craig Reynolds.
Yeah.
Still don't know who Craig Reynolds is.
It's funny because I'm watching the game, right? Because they have Josh Reynolds as well, and I see the Reynolds across the bottom, and he's like, I forget what he had at the time. I was like, oh, good, I got Josh Reynolds in my DFS lineups. He's doing really well, and I went and looked, and he had no points. I'm like, oh, it was not just updated yet. But then I'm looking, and I'm like, holy crap, who is this guy, Craig Reynolds? This is not anybody that I was.
Kutztown University football running back Craig Reynolds elevated to Detroit Lions active roster. So apparently he was on the practice squad, and that's fine. Activate the guy because he probably doesn't need depth.
But then play him.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's week 14, man. This has been a weird year, and this is just another cherry on top of that. But yeah, I mean, I want to ask you a question about Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant. So obviously very popular draft day selections.
Yep.
Are we just straight up benching these guys going forward?
I think so.
I can't do it with them anymore.
Nope, I can't either. I mean, 4 for 47 still is 9.7 points in PPR, but still
like 0 touchdowns all year, right?
Yeah, I think he hasn't scored all year. Fant, I guess a decent line for a tight end.
Almost had one today, by the way.
Yeah, I think the other tight end, Albert O, got a touchdown, I believe. So that kind of vultured your Fant touchdown. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, it depends on who you have to replace them. But I think Jeudy is like a flex play at best now. Fant, you're probably starting at the tight end position because you probably didn't draft another good one unless you happen to have like a Dawson Knox or someone that just kind of showed up out of nowhere. Or
we got questions today this morning about, do you start Ertz over Fant? And I was like, yeah. I'm starting Ertz. I mean, I don't like Ertz back there, all that much with I did it this morning too. I'm blanking on the quarterback.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, thank you. Kyler Murray changes that offense. Like they're not passing the ball as much with Indy. He's gonna steal some touchdowns. But you can't take last week so much as what's gonna happen with Ertz going forward because last week was just a mess of a game, rain, wind, and you name it. And like they only threw the ball 15 times. So, there will be a lot of running in that offense, but it's I still just liked Ertz more today. And yeah, I mean, it might not work out because 451 is not horrible. It's 9 points, but I don't know. It's just a lack of upside there. Just in consistency. He's been pretty bad.
Yeah, so, I mean, really, other than this running game, I want nothing to do with the Broncos.
Yeah, and I just wish they would just pick one, but I guess it doesn't matter. They're both doing way better than most one back guys.
Yeah, but could you imagine if they did have one back? I mean, look at those number of carries.
Last week, Javonte Williams destroyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next game here, one that did not help my dynasty tanking hopes here. 49ers win 26-23. Goes into overtime, and Kittle and Juwan Jennings got some points that just put me over the top for good. But Jimmy G, 27-41, 296 and 2 touchdowns. Wilson filled in, I guess, 13 for 56. Not much there. They need to get Mitchell back, hopefully.
Yeah,
Kittle, 13 for 151 and a touchdown. Just a straight-up beast. Ayuk, 6 for 62. The game-winning touchdown, which was incredible, by the way.
It was.
If you have not seen it, go watch it, guys. Go find it. It was awesome. And then Debo, only 1 for 22 receiving, but ran the ball 8 times for 37 yards.
Yeah.
Not a great game. I think they were easing it back in, but I don't know, man. Like between you and me, and we talked about this before, like when he comes back, I was hoping they would use him more in the passing game and not in the run game, but they didn't do it. And I guess I get it. This was the no Mitchell game again, but like hopefully when Mitchell comes back, they go back to using Debo in the passing game because I don't think his body's going to hold up for this.
Nope. I agree 100%.
So as somebody who has him and Scott Fish and, is, I guess, one of the hopefuls there, I really need Debo to be healthy and perform, just come back, please.
Yeah, I need him in one of my dynasty leagues too. I mean, I played him today and obviously didn't do a whole lot for me. He didn't seem, he looked like he was moving okay. Yeah. Like it wasn't like he was an injury thing. I think early in the game, he looked better than he did towards the end of the game, but he did score a touchdown.
He did score though.
Yeah, he had that rushing touchdown.
Yeah. So, question about tight ends. Like we talked about Kettle kind of struggling. We talked about Fant, or Kelsey's struggling. Sorry. Is Kittle now the best tight end when healthy?
When healthy is the key there. But yes, I don't. I mean, the way he's been playing the last couple of games. I mean, 13 receptions for a tight end. I mean, he had 11 I think last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, he's the number one passing option in this offense, especially now with Debo being the running
mile.
Yeah. And Jimmy G just seems to have that connection with him. There's a couple passes that in this game where Jimmy G put it where only Kittle could get it. And he just kind of knew that Kittle could go up and get it, and he did that. And it's fun to watch as a 49er fan, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to watch. I agree. He's just got to stay healthy. This guy's a monster. We talked about this weeks ago. I think everybody was worried, right? When the 49ers were doing really crappy, that they were just, for fantasy purposes, right? You were worried, when's Trey Lance coming in and gonna steal the show, and this offense is just gonna go nosediving down for fantasy purposes. I don't think we're worried about that anymore because the 49ers are in the hunt.
They are. They are.
What, 6 in a row?
No, they lost to Seattle. So.
Oh, right.
They lost, but they had won 4 straight up into them. So they've won 5 of their last 6, I believe.
Yeah. So they're in the hunt. They're making waves, man. This team's stepping up. The offense is still good, and it's just going to get better when Mitchell gets healthy, which I think everybody's assuming is next week.
Yeah. Crazy stat too that I heard today on the telecast, and I didn't even realize it. But the Niners are the best team in the NFL right now in the red zone and converting touchdowns, and it's not even close. They get touchdowns, and they get in close, they score.
It's good. I mean, they run with Debo. They got Mitchell. They can use Kittle. They got just a slew of weapons that they can use there. They've got those crazy they run everybody across those jet sweeps, even if they fake them. It all works. On the other side of the ball here, Higgins was a guy who has been performing and still did perform very, very well. Went 5 for 114 today, but Chase finally stepped up and should have had 3 touchdowns. He dropped one that was bounced off the ground, but 5 for 77 and 2 touchdowns. He bounced back, which was I heard a lot of he's due, and I get it, but he was bad. Are we now kind of looking at him going, all right, Chase got over that rookie hump. Maybe now he can ride this the rest of the way.
I think so. Actually, if anybody caught my Friday DFS show, I was all over Jamar Chase. I knew he'd have low ownership. I think he came up under 1% owned in most.
I bet.
But I knew that against this secondary, we don't have our first tight end, our first cornerback. We have our second cornerback. We didn't have our third cornerback, so I knew he'd have a big game. But Burrow looked his way early and often, and I think that down the stretch there, you can go back to trusting Chase to be that guy there for the Bengals. And Higgins is showing up too, and I think Higgins has kind of pulled some coverage away from Chase.
Yeah, I agree.
That's helping as well.
I think that's helped a lot. Because teams in the beginning of the year, after those first few weeks, were just they were just leaning, just umbrellaing Chase a lot, and it was, opening things up for everybody else. But Burrow was still looking Chase's way, I think, a little too often. So now they've fixed that. Last game here, we got Bills and Bucks.
We skipped over the Giants Chargers. I don't know if you realize that.
I did not, but
we can go real quick.
Too excited to talk about the 49ers. Giants Chargers. Yeah, thank you for that. Giants Chargers. Chargers win 37-21. Mike Glennon 17 for 36, 191, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not terrible. Barkley 16 for 64, caught 3 for 31 and a receiving touchdown. So good to see Barkley get back in the end zone there and have at least a fairly decent fantasy day for once. Justin Herbert 23 for 31, 275, 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Eckler 12 for 61 and a touchdown, caught 2 for 17. He left early, an ankle injury. I mean, they used like 2 rolls of tape on him. It was pretty funny. I don't know if you saw that. It was like basically they put like a boot on him with tape. It was kind of crazy. But it sounds like they're saying he's not expected to miss any time. They just kind of they didn't put him back in because they were up big. So it was.
Yeah, what's crazy too is when you look at the box score, you see the other running backs that got carries, but they were getting carries even before Eckler went out.
They were getting a lot. I did notice that. Like I know Eckler gets subbed out fairly often, but they were seeing a lot more work, and I don't know. I mean, I know Eckler's been kind of banged up, and it's the end of the year, but yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah, at one point I asked my friend, I'm like, "What happened to Eckler? Is he hurt?" And he was back in the next play. I'm like,
"Right,
well, what happened?" But I
mean, the same thing.
Jackson, Josh Kelly got some carries. I was like, I guess they're just trying to work in everybody, I guess, to get in case he does get hurt for whatever reason.
And I mean, it's the Giants, so maybe they thought they'd be okay.
Yeah.
So without Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton and Josh Palmer both showed up today. Both had 2 big plays. Jalen Guyton 3 for 87 and a touchdown. Palmer 5 for 66 and a touchdown. Mike Williams did okay, 6 for 61, just didn't score. I think we're not, let's not worry about speculating about the Eckler injury. Let's just see what happens. We all know that's a huge loss for everybody if that happens. But, what do we think about Guyton and Palmer, 2 young guys who, for dynasty players here with Mike Williams likely gone next season, are these 2 guys that, you can look to, snatching up or maybe trading for, for next season?
I definitely think so. I think Guyton probably is the one that benefits most from Mike Williams leaving, if he does indeed leave. Palmer is kind of the guy behind Keenan Allen, which is why I think he had more targets today than Guyton did, because he filled that Keenan Allen role.
I always thought it was the opposite. I thought Palmer was the deep threat guy, and then Guyton was like the underneath guy, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
So I was dead wrong on it.
Yeah, I think Guyton, I believe, is a speed guy. I could be wrong on that, but I thought Palmer was the one that was kind of behind Keenan. At least that's the way it was today, and the way that they've been using Guyton in recent, even before Keenan was out, he was sort of the deep guy as well. But yeah, I think both of them have a good future in this offense. Obviously, Justin Herbert's young, so I think all 3 receivers, Keenan Allen, Guyton, and Palmer, if Williams does leave, I think are all viable down the road.
Yeah. Agreed. Excuse me. So yeah, back to this Bills game, which went into overtime. The Bucs take it 33-27. Lots of offense all around. Josh Allen, 36 for 54, 308, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Ran 12 times for 109 yards and a rushing touchdown. That rushing touchdown was pretty impressive too, man. It was. I mean, he ran a long ways and didn't get touched. Diggs 7 for 74, Beasley's 9 for 64, Knox 7 for 60 and a touchdown was a very popular play this week.
Yep.
And then Gabe Davis showed up, 5 for 43 and a touch. Of course, that was after Emmanuel Sanders got hurt. So, good to see Gabe Davis step up there for his role. Gabe Davis was a very popular pick early on this year, before the Sanders signing, but so it happens. On the other side of the ball, Brady 31 for 46, 363 and 2 touchdowns. Fournette does his thing, 19 for 113 and the touchdown. Godwin 10 for 105. Mike Evans 6 for 91 and the touchdown. Gronk didn't score, but 5 for 62. And then Perryman figuring things out here. 158 game-winning touchdown in overtime.
Yeah.
So a couple things I want to ask you. So obviously the Bills' run attack is just non-existent. In fact, they just decided we're not even going to try to run the ball today. And they inactivated Zach Moss again. Let's just give away our game plan big time and say Zach Moss isn't going to be active and we're not going to run the ball. But they did decide to run the ball today. Just a different way of doing it, and they used Allen a lot more, kind of like what they used to do with him when he was, early in his career. Do you think that's a good idea moving forward to open up this offense?
I think I think depending on the team they are playing, I think it worked versus the Bucks because their run defense is so good, and I think running either Singletary or Zach Moss or whoever Breida, whoever they're going to put back there, would have been just running into a brick wall the whole game. I think having Allen to sort of give the threat of the pass and then run worked out. But I mean, they didn't run the ball they didn't hand the ball off to a running back for the entire first half.
Yeah, I saw that.
Insane to even think about. Not a single handoff to any running back. That game plan cannot work in the NFL. I don't believe. You have to at least give the threat of it, so you have the play action fake to use or something. But
and in the playoffs, like you're gonna see horrible weather, and like we just saw last week, right? You see horrible weather, and if you can't run the ball, you're not gonna win the game. And so that's why. I mean, I initially had the Bills beating the Pats last week, and then as soon as I saw the weather, I went, no chance. Swapped it real quick.
Yep.
So yeah, that's just one of those. Yeah, they've got to figure something out real quick. And they keep bringing in more and more running backs, and it was weird because they didn't draft one this year, and I think everybody thought they would.
Yep.
So you're like, okay, well maybe they like Zach Moss or whoever, and I don't know, it's just not working. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe these design runs for Josh Allen will do the trick, but you do worry that he could get hurt. But
yep, I mean he's a lot bigger than like a guy like Lamar Jackson, but I mean
he's huge.
He's like he's basically Cam Newton with an arm and some accuracy early in his career.
On the other side of the ball, I mean, just the Bucks doing Bucks things, man. Everybody got involved today. It wasn't one of those, Fournette went off and Brady went off. It was kind of just everybody had a good day. So we're all happy, right? Let's keep it that way, guys.
And Godwin, really, I think Godwin's kind of become that, that Julian Edelman, Wes Welker type player for Brady, it seems, because, I mean, he's getting targeted relentlessly.
Yes.
So you love that in PPR.
I think Godwin has a little bit more touchdown upside than like the Edelman role, right?
Exactly.
Like,
he definitely does.
Never worked for Edelman. Edelman always got like 3 touchdowns a year, it felt like.
Yeah.
I think Godwin can score a little bit more than that, but there's a lot of weapons here. So it's nice to see all of them kind of go off in the same game for once. But all right, man, that is all we've got. And I think the Packers just scored again. Holy smokes. So they are winning 38-27. This is looking like it's going to be a runaway here for them. Aaron Rodgers has 3 touchdowns, 296. Dillon's leading the way in the run game with 44 yards, but Jones has the 2 touchdowns, so that's good. Devontae's got over 100 yards and a touchdown, so everybody's happy here with that. So
Packers or Rodgers still owns the Chicago Bears, in case you were wondering.
Are we surprised? No. So, all right, man. Yep, that's all I've got, and we will see you all next week.
See you next week.